The feeling of dread you get from a single critical email uses the exact same wiring that saved your ancestors from a pouncing predator. This isn't a metaphor. Your brain defaults to ancient survival code to solve modern problems, and this mismatch is the source of almost all of your daily anxiety. By the end of this, you will understand the precise mechanism behind this glitch, and you'll have a set of tools to manually override it. Because right now, a 10,000-year-old ghost is flying the plane, and it's steering you directly into turbulence you could be avoiding entirely. Your brain has one primary job that supersedes all others: keep the body alive. For 99% of human history, the biggest threats to that mission were physical and immediate. A predator in the brush, a rival tribe over the hill, a sudden storm. Your threat detection system, the amygdala and its associated circuits, became exquisitely tuned to spot these dangers and trigger a massive, instantaneous physiological response. Your heart pounds, your muscles flood with blood, your digestion shuts down, and your focus narrows to a single point: survive the next 3 minutes. This system is a masterpiece of evolutionary engineering. It's incredibly fast. It operates entirely below the level of conscious thought because conscious thought is slow, and when a lion is charging, slow is dead. The system is designed to have false positives. It's better to mistake a shadow for a predator 100 times than to mistake a predator for a shadow once. That hair trigger sensitivity is what got your DNA this far. It's a feature. The problem is that you now live in a world where there are no predators, but your brain is still running the same ancient software. It's constantly scanning the environment for threats, but the things it finds are performance reviews, traffic jams, and notifications on a screen. To your ancient wiring, a modern social threat feels identical to a physical one. The physiological response is the same. The pounding heart, the shallow breathing, the cold sweat you feel before public speaking is your body preparing to either fight a rival for status or run for its life. Your brain can't tell the difference. But why does a disapproving look from your boss trigger the same cascade as staring down a wolf? The answer is buried in the single most important rule of human survival. For our ancestors on the savannah, being alone was a death sentence. A lone human was vulnerable to predators, starvation, and the elements. Our single greatest survival technology was the tribe. Cooperation, social cohesion, belonging to the group meant access to food, protection, and mates. Being ostracized, shamed, or cast out was the equivalent of being left for dead. Your brain, therefore, evolved to treat social rejection as a life or death emergency. Your fear of public speaking is a fear of mass social judgment. Your hesitation to ask for a raise is a fear of rejection from the tribal leader, your boss. The sting of a negative comment online is your brain flagging a potential threat to your place in the group. Your nervous system equates social risk with mortal risk. It maps the possibility of shame onto the same circuits that handle physical pain. That's why it feels so visceral. That's why you can feel a sense of dread in your gut from something as abstract as a company-wide email announcing restructuring. Your body is preparing for an attack that will never come because the ancient code says social standing is everything. This deep wiring to avoid social rejection made perfect sense in a tribe of 150 people, where your reputation was your entire life. Today, you interact with more people in a week than your ancestors did in a lifetime. You're exposed to the potential judgment of thousands, even millions of strangers online. Your brain wasn't built for that scale. It's like taking a smoke detector designed for a small cabin and installing it in a massive factory full of welding equipment. The alarm is going to be screaming all day. But this mismatch gets even worse when you look at how this ancient hardware handles the sheer volume of modern information. An ancestral human lived in an environment of extreme information scarcity. The world was mostly the same, day after day. A new footprint, a strange sound in the night, a different bird call. These were huge signals. They meant something had changed, and that change could be a threat. Your brain evolved to pay obsessive attention to novelty. Novelty could mean danger, or it could mean opportunity. Either way, it demanded immediate focus. Now, fast forward to today, your phone alone presents you with more novel information in a single hour than your ancestors saw in a month. Every notification, every headline, every email, every post in your feed is a tiny blast of novelty. Each one pings the ancient threat detection system. Each one whispers, "Hey, Pay attention to this. It might be important. None of these pings are strong enough to trigger a full-blown panic attack. They are just tiny, cognitive paper cuts. But they happen hundreds of times a day. The result is a state of chronic low-grade activation. Your nervous system is perpetually simmering, held in a state of hypervigilance by a digital environment it was never designed for. It's constantly scanning for threats in a sea of meaningless data. This constant vigilance is exhausting. It drains your cognitive resources, shatters your ability to focus, and leaves you feeling perpetually anxious without knowing why. You feel a constant humming sense of unease, a feeling that something is wrong, even when everything is objectively fine. But the most dangerous part of this ancient programming is the story your conscious mind tells you about that feeling. The human brain is a storytelling machine. It cannot tolerate a sensation without an explanation. When your ancient threat system fires and floods your body with the chemistry of anxiety, your conscious modern brain immediately asks, "Why do I feel this way?" It needs a culprit. Since there is no predator in the room, it starts searching your environment for a plausible villain, and it is incredibly good at finding one. You feel a vague wave of dread, and your brain supplies a narrative. That meeting must have gone badly. I'm probably going to lose that client. You feel a spike of social anxiety at a party, and your mind generates a story. Everyone here is more successful than me. They can all tell I don't belong. The feeling came first, the rationalization came second. You are inventing a modern reason for an ancient, pre-programmed feeling. This process is called catastrophizing. Your brain takes a nameless, biological sensation of threat and attaches it to the most plausible negative outcome it can imagine. The problem is that your conscious mind believes the story it just wrote. It thinks the story caused the feeling. It gets the cause and effect completely backward. You think you're anxious because of the story. In reality, you wrote the story because you were already anxious. You are living inside a fictional horror movie that your own brain is directing, producing, and forcing you to watch. We spend our lives wrestling with these invented narratives. We argue with the stories. We try to reason our way out of them. We build elaborate defenses against threats that only exist as rationalizations for a biological alarm bell. We are fighting ghosts. But what if there was a way to feel the biological signal without believing the fictional story that comes with it? A way to hear the alarm without running out of the building? There is. It involves creating a tiny space between the ancient feeling and the modern response. It's a circuit breaker. The first step in overriding the code is to simply label what you're feeling. When that wave of anxiety hits, just say to yourself, either out loud or in your head, "This is anxiety," or "I am feeling anger right now." Neuroscientists call this affect labeling. Brain scans show that the moment you put a name to an emotion, activity in the amygdala, the brain's alarm center, begins to decrease. At the same time, activity in the prefrontal cortex, the home of rational thought, increases. Simply naming the feeling shifts your relationship to it. You move from being inside the emotion, consumed by it, to observing it. You become the watcher of the feeling. The feeling is still there, but it is no longer you. It's a weather pattern passing through. This tiny act of naming creates the initial gap between stimulus and response. It's the first step in taking your hand off the panic button. It sounds simple. It is, and it works. The second tool is purely mechanical. It's the fastest known way to deliberately calm your body down in real time. It's called the physiological sigh. It consists of 2 quick inhales through your nose, followed by 1 long slow exhale through your mouth. 2 sharp breaths in, 1 long breath out. When you are stressed, the tiny air sacs in your lungs, the alveoli, begin to collapse. This reduces the amount of oxygen that can get into your bloodstream, which sends a panic signal back to the brain, creating a vicious cycle. That first, sharp inhale pops those tiny sacs back open. The second inhale tops it off, making sure you get as many of them as possible. The long, slow exhale then offloads the maximum amount of carbon dioxide, which is the primary signal to the brain that it's time to stand down. Doing this just once or twice can halt an escalating stress response in its tracks. It is a direct mechanical intervention. You are using your body to send a message of safety to your brain, overriding the ancient alarm signal that is screaming danger. It's a manual override for your autonomic nervous system. The feeling of panic might still be there, But the physiological fuel for that panic is suddenly gone. You've cut the engine. These two tools, labeling the emotion and the physiological sigh, give you a way to create a gap, a pause. The ancient response is designed to be instantaneous. Your power lies in stretching that moment between the trigger and your action. In that space, you get to choose. You can choose to believe the catastrophic story your brain is writing, or you can choose to recognize the feeling as an ancient echo, a false alarm from a bygone world. You get to decide if you're being chased by a predator or just dealing with a full inbox. The initial feeling is automatic. Your response is a choice. These tools buy you the time to make one, but these are reactive tools. They are for managing the emotional hijack as it happens. What about preventing the hijack in the first place? How do you recalibrate the alarm system so it stops being so sensitive? The long-term strategy is deeply counterintuitive. It requires you to walk directly toward the very thing your ancient brain is screaming at you to avoid. The only way to teach your ancient hardware that a modern social threat will not kill you is to experience the threat and survive. This is the core principle of exposure. You are rewriting the old code with new data. Every time you give the presentation, make the difficult phone call, publish the article, or have the uncomfortable conversation, and nothing catastrophic happens, you are providing your nervous system with a crucial piece of evidence. You are teaching it through direct experience that social disapproval in the 21st century is survivable. The first time you do it, the alarm will scream, your body will flood with cortisol and adrenaline. You'll feel the full force of that 10,000-year-old programming. But when it's over and you're still alive, your brain makes a small adjustment. It logs the data, threat encountered, outcome, survival. The next time, the alarm will still go off, but maybe it's a little quieter, a little less intense. You do it again and again. Each repetition is a vote for a new reality. Each exposure slightly turns down the sensitivity on that ancient alarm. This is a gradual process. It is the work of building courage. Courage is the act of feeling the fear and taking the action anyway. It's about willingly exposing yourself to the thing that triggers the ancient alarm in controlled doses until the alarm learns the new rules of the modern world. You are actively training your own nervous system. You are recalibrating your threat detector, updating it from the Stone Age to the Information Age, one deliberate act at a time. This is how you stop being a passenger and start being the pilot. The goal is to stop trying to eliminate these ancient feelings. You can't. They are a fundamental part of your biological hardware. They are the legacy of 100,000 generations of survivors. The goal is to change your relationship with them. It's about learning to hear the alarm without obeying the order to evacuate. To feel the surge of anxiety and see it for what it is, an echo from a world that no longer exists. A message from a long-dead ancestor delivered to the wrong address. Your emotions are not your boss. They are your advisors. And your most powerful advisor is often the one still operating on a 10,000-year-old map of the world. Acknowledge the message. Thank it for trying to protect you, and then make a conscious choice based on the world you actually live in today. The ballot box of your actions is always open. Your ancient brain gets one vote. You get to cast the deciding one.